Thanks for tuning in to Respect Her Game. If you're enjoying this show, be sure to check out Nesson's daily sports podcast, Boston Has Entered the Chat. You can listen on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to your podcasts. What is up? I'm Annabelle Hasselbeck here for the first time with Kasey Hudson. We have an awesome show for you today on Respect Her Game. I'll get to introduce the beautiful woman sitting next to me. We're going to hear from Gigi Marvin, Nesson's newest studio analyst. And we also got some NFL conversations about the conference championships coming up with a brand new, very fun segment that we're both very excited for. But Kasey, welcome to your first Nesson show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited because it's not just being in Nesson, it's being in Boston. So everybody's been fantastic. I've actually kept tabs on Nesson throughout my entire career. There's so many fantastic broadcasters that I've watched and tracked their career. So it's pretty surreal and super fantastic to be here and start the first show with you and talk with Gigi, and then the NFL fun we'll close out with.
We got a big day for your first show at Nesson. It's so exciting. And you just got here from New Jersey, but when did you actually get to Boston?
Oh my gosh, I got to Boston, I'm trying to think if it's almost a week ago now, last week Thursday. So hopped in the car by 10 a.m. from Jersey. My sister's in the U-Haul truck behind me, and before you know it, we're here. The movers met us at the apartment, and we're getting situated and squared away.
That's impressive. And we were talking earlier, nice of your sister to come and help you unpack. What's like your big, like with the move, like what's the big thing you got to get done?
Oh, my biggest anxiety for the most part is just you want your home to be organized, you know? And as you know, in sports broadcasting, the scheduling is chaotic. You're running on crazy hours. So having your sanctuary solidified is the most important thing. And my whole family wanted to come up, but it was just everything happened so quickly, which I'm excited about. But my sister, my eldest sister, I should say, OCD.
The oldest sister. I'm the oldest sister. So
you guys are brilliant. You guys are brilliant. Her OCD, her structure came in handy. I mean, if I had to leave the house for a minute to go do something, she already had 5 other tasks done. So my closet's done. My house is organized, and it's all due to big sister. So big props to her, and the biggest stress being behind me.
Yeah, that is so. Hey, that's huge. If your closet is done, I feel like you can get anything done. That is incredible. Well, you're coming from New Jersey. Before that, you spent a bunch of years in Tampa covering the teams in Tampa. But can you just describe a little bit about where you're coming from?
Absolutely. So I've been in broadcasting since 2016 for the most part. That's where I really got my feet on the ground. When I was in Tampa, I was covering every Tampa sport, as you imagine, and also reaching out into the Orlando area. So it was Tampa Bay Bucks, it was Tampa Bay Lightning, it was Orlando Magic, it was NASCAR, Pro Bowls, because that's when it just switched over from Hawaii to Orlando. So got to do a little bit of everything at the start of my career. And then alongside of that, I learned about loving the analytical side of sports and kind of incorporating that in my storytelling. So I got a little bit of an analyst chip on my shoulder, and with that, sports gambling started to take off. So a lot of people used to ask me to come and use my analysis to kind of do like sports gambling stuff. So that became very cohesive. I got an opportunity to move to Jersey, focusing on sports gambling and NHL analytics, because I worked with the Tampa Bay Lightning closely for a number of seasons, 8 roughly. I'm trying not to tell my age too much.
That's impressive. Well, you've seen some good wins. That works.
Exactly, and some exciting points and just plenty of sports. So end up in Jersey, hockey and sports gambling, and then before you know it, Nesson had an opportunity, and I'm so excited to be able to do all my first loves here between hockey and football and a number of other things.
Wow, well, you have a breadth of experience in NASCAR even. I mean, that was a wild card in there.
Yes, that was a nice surprise I threw at NFL just now, but that was a really cool one. You learn real storytelling when you have to do sports outside of your element, and then you realize just how much you want other fans to gravitate towards that experience. So when you think NASCAR, yeah, you think about the speed in the cars, but then you don't realize when you're looking up close to being in the hot pit and seeing the exchange and seeing the communication style, it was just so intricate, and it allows you to have a different perspective to draw back into other sports or other fast-paced environments such as hockey, which I've gravitated to the most.
That's so incredible. I lived in Indianapolis, and it's not NASCAR, but the Indy 500 was something that I'd never experienced, and I'd never, seen racing before, and I went to my first Indy 500, and I thought that I needed to become an IndyCar driver. It was like the thrill was just
addicting immediately. Yes. Oh my gosh, that was the same thing. I was like, so how do I get involved in this more? But then it's almost disrespectful because you're like, no, these people have known since 5 years old. They wanted to suit up, get in a fast car, and do all the exercises to make sure that their oxygen and all these things play into it. But yeah, it's fantastic. So I love the number of experiences that you can get in this world that we call sports.
Well, I know there have probably been a ton of amazing memories, but is there something from your career covering all of those sports or any of them that just stands out to you?
Yeah, I kind of want to say, I mean, I can almost pinpoint a memory to everything, but I guess I'll go with one of the most pivotal moments in my career and what meant something to me is it's the first time I actually got to work in studio for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's when I realized how much I just loved and enjoyed the sport of hockey. But Gigi and you and I just kind of talked about this, like the illumination on women being in it. So I got to do the Women in Sports night, go in studio. It was my first time in studio. I'm sweating bullets. I feel like I am. And you're learning how to manage chaos in such a beautiful way. But it became pivotal for a number of reasons because you learn that where you think that you messed up, you didn't, and your authenticity and your passion actually speaks louder than how you're dictating everything in your head. So that was so pivotal because it just kind of made me realize how much I loved the sport, the industry, trying something new, being scared and doing it anyway. And what a better honor than being able to do it in Women in Sports night for an NHL team.
That's so cool. And like you said, there's a lot of things that you think it was that way and it really wasn't. And so I think a lot of young women right now I'm hearing, oh, I want to work in sports. I want to do this. And there's so many ways you can work in sports, but specifically for sports broadcasting, what's one piece of advice you would give a young girl who maybe wants to do what you're doing today?
Don't be afraid to do a little bit of everything. And maybe this speaks to
NASCAR.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe this speaks to my competitive childhood. You grew up with 3 siblings and then we adopted my brother. So compete is in my blood. But when you get excited about something, and I'm sure you can attest to this too, you kind of get hyper focused on it. And you don't realize that your journey in sports broadcasting is going to go through a number of ebbs and flows. And you have to get very comfortable with being uncomfortable. And don't be afraid to be creative. I mean, my breakthrough in this industry honestly came from the fact that I started to make graphics. I enjoyed making creative graphics and throwing them up on Twitter. And before you know it, it was like, okay, the information that I was putting in those graphics, people wanted to know, do you know this information? Are you looking it up? And then that opened the door to, oh, I'm knowledgeable in this. And, you never know what's going to unravel to another opportunity. So don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. Don't be so hyper-focused on, I want to be in front of a camera and on a microphone. Like, the world has changed so much. Like, having a social media presence and being creative is just as necessary and speaks just as loud to jumping in front of the camera. And then being comfortable in social media, you learn how to be that much more comfortable in camera. So don't be afraid to do a little bit of everything. Don't be so hyper focused that you confine yourself to comfort zones. That's my biggest thing, because I know coming out of college I was like, I just want to be on camera, like why am I doing this and this and this and this and that? And I realized every little thing I did, from grunt work to glamour, was equally as important.
That's really, I love that tagline. I think you need to make that like your trademark company, from grunt work to glamour. That could be like on a tote bag or something.
Oh, I would wear it on a bag. I love a good
that.
slogan.
It's like kind of like I love that. That is so good. Well, you're now in Boston, City of Champions. What excites you the most about being in Boston?
Oh, it's like a full circle moment, and you and I got to chat about it a little bit. So middle school Case thought she was going to be a Harvard law student studying international law. So from an early age, Boston's just kind of been on my heart. It's not like I have family or anything specific that drew me to it. It's just I woke up one day and that's what I said. I mean, my parents used to get me law books for Christmas presents because I asked for that. I grew out of that phase clearly, but Boston's always kind of just been in my heart. And then I switched over to public relations because I wanted to help with crisis control management, specifically for athletes, because storylines just kind of go all over the place. And we adopted my brother at the time, and I just saw very closely how much pressure it is for athletes to tune out the noise, manage what they have at hand. But Boston College and Boston University, top universities for stuff like that. So I just kept gravitating back to Boston in a sense. Ended up staying in Florida. So yeah, to be here now, like, it's been entirely surreal because I've dreamed of this place since I was younger, and having some sort of foothold in Boston. And now I get to do it. Doing my favorite thing ever, my passion, my dream, working in sports broadcasting. And I don't know if anyone's going to get me out of Boston.
That's awesome. Well, I love you just said that, and I feel like I'm living in the moment that in a few years you're going to clip this one clip. You're saying I'm living my dream, and then it's the mashup that you post at the end of the year. So I hope that makes it in there. But I know you do have an interesting 2 truths and a lie that I would love to ask you. So can you share those with us?
All right. Are you going to try to suss out?
I'm going to try to do it. Yes.
Okay. So my go-to 2 truths and a lie is I went to a different elementary school for every grade.
Okay.
I was born in a different country. I have 23 tattoos.
Whoa. Okay. Those are good. Oh, man. Okay. I think I'm going to go with the elementary. Oh, no. Because I think I'm going to have to go with 23 tattoos. That's a lot of tattoos.
As the lie?
That's the lie.
All right. Final answer?
Final answer.
I was not born in a different country.
Yo.
My parents were. So anybody who knows my family immediately are like, you were not born here. But I was born in Miami, Florida. I did go to a different elementary school for every grade, military brat. I do have 23 tattoos.
Wow. What's your favorite tattoo?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh, you know what? Just keeping with the basis of everything, I got one, whatever, I'm going to age myself. I got one for my 30th birthday because my grandmother was constantly talking about how so much fear comes with aging. So she said something that just resonated with me, and then I had an artist draw it up. It was, don't live your life by a clock, live by a compass, or live your life by a compass, not a clock. So I got this compass made, and it has the flower of like my mom's birth flower, my sister's birth flower, my brother's, and then instead of north, south, east, west, it just has the arrows to let life take you where it may.
That is beautiful. I absolutely love it. That is so good and great advice. And this was so fun to introduce you on Respect Your Game for the first time. I'm so excited to be just brainstorming with you. I know last night we were on a call and we had some awesome new fun segment ideas. So this was so exciting.
Oh, I'm so glad. I know that there's going to be so many more fun conversations you and I get to have. So I'm psyched.
That's awesome. And if you're enjoying the show, you can catch new episodes of Respect Her Game every Thursday. You can watch on YouTube and Twitch and listen on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Well, Northeastern has defended their title as Beanpot champions for the third time in a row. And Kasey, how fun was that to watch?
Oh my gosh, it was so exciting. And you and I chatted about this, like record-breaking numbers, 5th largest crowd to watch D1 women's hockey. And more importantly, the atmosphere was just so impressionable and memorable for a number of fans, new fans to hockey, more importantly, women's hockey. So you can't beat it.
It was so fun. I love just hearing, I wasn't at TD, but I could literally hear the crowd cheering from the screen. It was so incredible. And we actually had the opportunity to catch up and hear from Gigi Marvin, NESN's newest studio analyst. Here's our conversation with Gigi. I'm so excited to welcome on NESN's newest studio analyst, 3-time Olympic medalist, Minnesota's finest, Gigi Marvin. Gigi, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Gigi, you got to cover the women's Beanpot at TD Garden. Northeastern is defending their title for the third time in a row. What separates this Northeastern team from the rest?
They're so talented and skilled. I mean, last year I got to play with some of their former players in Erin Frankel and Alina Mueller. But, I mean, from those two to Skylar Fontaine to Megan Carter, Maureen Murphy, Katie Knoll, Chloe Arar. I mean, the list goes on, not to mention all the incredible talent they have right now. Like, how fun was that game yesterday? It was so exciting. You got Taze Thompson, Skylar Irving, Lily Shannon scoring net front, Morgan Jackson and Eloise Caron just tearing it up. And so I think it's the talent, in my opinion, the ability for Coach Flint to recruit excellent players. And then he's such a good developer. He's a former goalie. And I think with goaltenders, to be honest, they're just so attentive to details. And he's excellent at seeing the little things and elevating someone's game and teaching those and being able to bring the best out of each of his players. And so I really enjoyed it last night. The atmosphere was outstanding. It was so fun to be in the Garden watching all the players and just kind of enjoy being in that environment.
Yeah, it was such an electric atmosphere, and you saw so many fantastic tweets, not only about the record-breaking numbers and attendance, but kind of how that was a lot of people's first hockey game, and you associate the Garden with the Bruins, and now it's made a memorable impact on people to watch D1 women's hockey. But you talked about talent and a number of great names on that roster, but one of the tweets that stood out to me, you've got Lily Shannon, "Are you not entertained?" And her numbers and her play and her net front presence was so dominating yesterday. She's got a number of points heading into this matchup last night, but more importantly, 3 game-winning goals, almost averaging 3 shots on goal. What did you see out of her to help this team elevate over their opponent last night?
Yeah, I think Lily brings a lot of consistency. She's extremely strong on the puck, and that was a really physical game. I don't know if you guys, the fans at home could even hear it. Like, we could actually hear the checks and the hits along the glass and the boards in the game, and and it was right from the drop of the puck. And Shannon is one who is not knocked over easily. She has a great low center of gravity where she is able to protect the puck well. She spins off of checks extremely well, and she is not afraid to go to the net, and that's how she got her goal and last night. And so I just have been watching her all year and just been really impressed with that, her physicality, but also her consistency. I can't even remember a time where I'm like, oh, I wonder where Shannon is on the ice. Like she makes her presence known, which is really a standout quality and characteristics of a great player.
Yeah, you mentioned the physicality, and that was something that Laura Stickles, the rinkside reporter, said to me last night. She said, Annabelle, out of all the college hockey games I've covered, this was by far the most physical. So how was that in your perspective with the physicality of last night?
I thought it was awesome, and I would agree with her. I haven't seen too many physical college hockey games, and it's absolutely evident in the professional league and, of course, in the international play. And so I'm quite used to it from that perspective, but I've never seen it collegiately. And so it was really encouraging to see, just because the strength is on display and the willingness to fight and battle for pucks and to separate yourself from the opponent, I think is just key. And so to see both teams coming out and refusing to back down from one another, I thought it was really encouraging to see, because especially a lot of those players have dreams of either wearing their country's colors or wearing a jersey for the Professional Women's Hockey League. And so in order to do that, start early and start playing physical and being strong on the puck, being hard to defend and knock off when you have the puck on your stick. And so I think it's just going to elevate each of the players' games if they continue to do that.
And they need resources, right, to do that. And that was something that Lily Jovicic said after the game. She said, hey, people need to take note. Look at how Northeastern has really poured into their program and the direct success that it has for the team. So how did you see what she said as true?
Well, I think it's just, you see it from just the teaching aspect, the amount of coaches that are on the bench and involved in the program, the goalie coach, the skills, the coordinators, the strength and conditioning. And so just to be able to have those resources and incredible athletic training staff, I mean, the more you can have access to incredible people and round out essentially an athlete's needs, all their needs in order to succeed, is going to be helpful. And I think it's awesome. You see some of the programs that are able to kind of really invest in that and expand their because Northeastern is already extremely dominant in a lot of these categories. And so the fact that they're able to continue to build their success and add to the level of greatness is telling, and it's exciting if you're a future wannabe Husky or you are currently with the team.
I think it's really fantastic how the resources can kind of illuminate what women bring to hockey. But I also want to get your opinion on something, because I feel like there's so many skillful elements to women's hockey that are underestimated. You talked about hearing the physicality in the building last night. So would physicality be one of the things that's underestimated, or is there something else that you've noticed is underestimated when it comes to how pivotal and how strong women's hockey is?
Yeah, I think the physicality, for one, I think people, just because it's not quote unquote body checking, like we don't have body checking, you don't see fights, it doesn't mean it's not physical. I remember after US Canada games being like, you're so exhausted and sore the next day just from playing, because it's such a battle on the ice. But I think I would say from women's hockey, another thing that stands out to me is the skill level and the play without the puck. I think for players who are able to think the game ahead, a couple steps ahead of others, you just see that on display. And it was really cool. I thought last night, Northeastern especially, but even BU as well, they strung 4, 5, sometimes 6 passes together. And that's a mark of a high-level team. That kind of shows and speaks to the knowledge of players, because they need to like fan out and then cut into lanes where they know they're going to be open. They're going to provide a great support to their teammates. And so I thought those two kind of things like really stuck out to me, because we do a drill in practice. Most teams do it. It's called seven puck drill, which basically just makes 7 passes tape to tape, which if you can accomplish that in a game, you're doing something extremely well. And that has to do with positioning, and has to do with intelligence, knowing where to be, and being able to support, and making a crisp, clean pass. I think sometimes players and teams shoot themselves in the foot just because it's hard to make a tape-to-tape pass, and that's just a fundamental. But I thought the fundamentals were on display last night, and it was really cool to see the puck move so quickly from team to team.
Yeah, and there was a team that was notably very fast yesterday, Boston College, and one player that stood out to me, because you're talking about hockey IQ, precision, and skill set. Julie Pelerin, she was fantastic. I love her numbers as well. 19 points, 24 games. She picked up a goal yesterday. But there was so much speed that BC was consistent in drawing out. What did you see out of their victory?
Yeah, that was also fun to watch. They came out from the puck drop, putting the pressure on Harvard. And I thought, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I remember writing down speed and then underlining it, and the fact that they were attacking through the middle. And their goals were beautiful, and their goals were all in that like high danger area in the home base right in front of the net, that everyone kind of talks about. Hey, if you get to that area, it's like the inner slot, it's grade A chances. No, you don't want to defend it because it's so hard to defend. And if you're an offense, you want to get to that spot because it's like sets yourself up for the highest percentage of scoring chance. And they had beautiful goals right in the middle. One coming down just like they had, I think, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, it seemed like, just hanging out in the high slot, ready to rip it, picking their corner. And yeah, I think I really enjoyed that. And what you mentioned too, Julia, when she was coming, she used her speed, not only entering the zone, but when she got the puck back from her defenseman, cutting hard, crossing over across the top of the circle to create separation from her opponent. And it was really fun to see. I love when players come and the moment's not too big for them. And you see that last night. You saw that with BC coming out from puck drop, playing with so much speed, and obviously in the championship game as well.
Is there a player from this Beanpot, and I know you've mentioned so many standout players, but is there someone that just sticks out to you?
Well, I would say Karan. I think I was just like, I constantly was in the producer's ear being like, we could get a highlight package on her just because, and I know she didn't finish some of them, but again, I think if I'm looking at it from a hockey fan of the next 3 years and thinking professionally as well, I was looking at it for the future. And I was like, this kid is anticipating well. She's knowing when to come across and support. And she was getting some really sick breakout passes, where sometimes wingers don't necessarily know how to go in those, or they take a different lane that would run them right into the opponent's defenseman, which therefore makes them like null and void. Essentially, they're not a factor. But she was taking lanes where she was going to put herself in a good position to succeed. She had great hands. She was doing a couple different moves that in tight, she was just cutting between defenders. And so she couldn't quite finish net front on some of her chances. But again, I think just the excitement level, if you're asking me as like a future fan of what she can bring and do on the ice and what's in store, I think that speaks to, I got excited just watching her compete.
There was a number of big plays and saves when it comes to some of the gals between the pipes. Which goaltender stood out to you the most? I know that some people were giving a lot of credit to Harvard, but talking about how the defense plays so well, they ended up pulling their goalie pretty early. But is there anyone that just stood out spectacularly in this tournament?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think Shanahan has done well all season, and then it seemed like Janssen, though, like I don't know how you can't pick Janssen. And to be honest, it was really cool listening to the crowd explode in cheers anytime she made a save. Like it was really fun. But she did have some, especially I think even in the third period when BU was pressing, some chances in front that were high danger. And even in the first period, I thought Healy did a good job. She's probably one of the few on BU who was able to actually penetrate the middle and get high quality chances from the middle. Like we saw in the first game, BC did a really good job of that. And I thought Healy did that. Bachna, I think, even did it a couple times, but Janssen, it just seemed like, was squared the puck. It seemed like she was able to track the puck. There wasn't too many shots from the point where there was net front presence, so she didn't have to necessarily dodge and look around a player, but she definitely had to track it well, as some bounced off of shin pads and kind of like got lost in front of her in the crease area. And so I'm always impressed when goaltenders are able to do that, because I'm like, how do you track the puck so well when it's coming in a little bit like a knuckleballer, or it's a little bouncier? That she had a really good sprawling save when one of the players came in and did a nice deke on her. And I know the crowd erupted for that. So I personally thought it's kind of hard to go against Janssen, just with the way that I thought she was playing.
I love how you talked about the crowd erupting, because I wasn't at TD Garden, but I could literally hear every single person in the crowd talking and cheering through the TV. It was such a cool thing to listen and watch with. But I'd love to learn more just about you as the hockey player and your perspective. How have you seen the game of women's college hockey change since you played at Minnesota?
Yeah, I think for me, there's more of a focus on players training when they're in high school. And so players are coming in a little stronger and a little faster, it seems. And so whereas when I played, it was kind of the top end players were doing the little things, the extra things, the things that maybe no one thinks about. And so it seems like for me that there, as a whole, that majority of players coming in, they're not just it's not just the best players on each team are doing all the extra things or working hard in the weight room and off the ice, or working hard on the ice to develop their skills. It's kind of comprehensive. And so that's kind of fun. I think my hope is that it'll just keep getting better and better. And the difference is, in my opinion, like, I grew up playing, a lot of my age, we grew up playing with boys. And so we were like forced to think the game really quickly, play physical, have high-end skill in order to succeed. And so it was just a little bit different with the competitiveness. And it's really cool to kind of see some of these players nowadays they actually had the opportunity to compete with girls growing up, and just to see the camaraderie and the growth of just the girls game, and being able to see that and the competitiveness, I think, starting at a young age with these youth groups, I think is pretty cool to see.
I feel like younger players are feeling motivated and like seeing the possibility of dreams coming true that much faster. But you mentioned playing with boys growing up, and I heard some fun stories about you growing up with TJ Oshie. So I have to ask, what was your personality as like a young girl in hockey? Were you the I can beat you at anything, or were you the silent shocking type? Because I know for me, I used to mention to my guy friends, I grew up with 8 boys, and I used to be like, oh, I want to dabble in this. I want to see how good I am at soccer. And before you know it, they would involve themselves in what I wanted to play, beat me up on the soccer field, or I would beat them up because I was this quiet, shocking type. But what was your vibe?
Yeah, no, I always laugh. I'm like, Mom, how did you handle me as a child? Because I was so uber competitive. I mean, I still am, but like at a young age, you don't necessarily know how to harness it because you're just like so young, right? And so I remember, I mean, TJ is an equally like incredibly gifted player, and he's so fun to grow up with and like be able to learn from and watch and see his career trajectory as well. But yeah, I was definitely a player who would come to the rink and I wouldn't chirp. I never knew how to chirp. I never knew how to talk trash. I'm like, I don't even get that, but I'm going to do everything in my power to light you up and like just put the puck in the net as many times as I can. And so it was a little bit more quiet because I had no good comments, and I'm like, I don't even know what to say. And so I would just kind of like, well, I'll just do my thing, and that'll like, let's just let the actions speak loudly. And yeah, that's kind of how I was. And my mom is like the complete opposite. She's like this gentle, quiet, not a competitive bone in her body. And I'm just like, how did you deal with me as a child? Because like I would be fuming for like hours after a game if like one thing went like wrong or couldn't put the puck in or did like, yeah, it was just kind of entertaining looking back on me as a kid and just seeing how the competitiveness had like shaped itself through the years and just kind of grown in that aspect.
Gigi, I feel like I'm similar to you. Even if I tried my hardest, I could not trash talk or chirp. That just was not part of my game. But you're right. Then you have to really step it up with your actions, speaking louder than what you can intimidate with your words. But you did mention how now it's not just the top players in college hockey who are really playing at a high level. It's really everyone who has just raised their game. What advice would you give to young women maybe coming into college hockey or want to take their time in their college hockey career to the next level? What would be one piece of advice you have for them?
Yeah, I think I would say like focus in on mental skills training, because I think and honestly just watch hockey. That's the simplest thing. Like you can get better by laying on your couch. Like people think, oh, I need to go to the weight room and I need to do all these extra shooting and stick handling off ice, which yes, that's great. But your mind can improve so dramatically. And I feel like players either one, don't know how to train your mind, but two, like just don't like kind of forget about it. And you can build your hockey IQ and intelligence by simply watching the game. You can improve your ability to respond positively after mistakes by just doing simple exercises. I mean, I can't even tell you how impactful visualization is and the ability to increase your self-confidence, finding exercises and doing that. And so I joke because when I talk to kids or teams and they ask me, or parents, and they're like, how can we help separate our kid from the next level or help them become even better? And I'm like, mentally, like that's what separates players from the best of the best. You know, that's what makes an Olympian, because they have these characteristics and these intrinsic values where they refuse to quit. They have an ability to see the next step developing, plays in advance, and they have the ability to not allow one mistake to snowball into multiple. And I think if you're just able to train your mind at a young age and realize that and have a healthy balance in your mental well-being, like it's going to put so much improvement on you as a person, because you're going to be more consistent, you're going to be reliable, you're going to be able to perform under pressure, you'll be able to manage your emotions. So like, for example, when I was younger and I would get all like fiery and angry, like you're more disciplined, so you don't take it out on like a slashing penalty or a cross-checking penalty. Instead, you're able to hone those emotions and work through them, and you're not going to be as fearful or nervous or anxious. You're going to be able to manage them appropriately and channel them to bring the best out in you and your teammates. And so it's kind of a long-winded answer, but I'm a very firm believer that like what you're given can be worked on. And I think an area that is not quite as accessible or understood is the mental side. And if someone's able to figure it out and learn how to put exercises, just like you go to the weight room, there's exercises to strengthen your body. There's actually exercises to strengthen your mind, your confidence, your in your ability to respond positively after mistakes. And so I think that would be my focus on that if you want to set yourself apart.
I love that, because I recently saw a quote where it says you can outwork talent, but a lot of that starts with your mentality. So some people naturally have the skill set, but your work ethic to do all the small details and working on the mental asset is just as big. Love that question, Annabelle. Just building off of that, because you mentioned from when you were younger, if you could have kind of applied that stuff then, at what point in your career do you feel like that became a focal point for you or just resonated with you a little bit more natural?
Yeah, so I think with Team USA, we had that was the first time I even like knew of mental skills training, and it was probably, and we had an excellent one starting in 2011, I want to say, right after our 2010, my first Olympics. But I came to realize was doing that at a young age. Like I'm very thankful. Like I was taught to look at the game as a student of the game. I was just taught a lot of these different things, and even thinking like expanding my hockey IQ. I had a softball coach who was phenomenal at and I played shortstop. And so he would literally put us in situations throughout practice where maybe someone's not even on the bases yet. And he would force us like quickly. You had to think, hey, if there's a pop fly, there's one out, there's one person on first base, where are you going? If it's a ground ball, who's the cutoff person? And if they're stealing, now where are you throwing it? And so you had to respond quickly and you had to mentally understand. And so I was like, wow, like I was forced to think ahead, quite far ahead, in order to be excellent when the play came. And so that translated in hockey as well, and learning to be a student of the game, learning to pick up different characteristics and qualities that I saw in other players. And I was like, wow, they're really good at, say, toe drags, or they're excellent at covering down low as a center and really like pinning and getting the puck out for a great breakout. I want to add that to my game. I want to learn and be better. And so I think it's interesting. I even did visualization without even realizing it. Like I would put myself in situations that I knew would happen in the game as a young player, and I would just think about it, and that in alone of itself would set yourself up for success, because you've already placed yourself in that position in your mind. So when it comes to being in the game and you're in that position, it's almost muscle memory. You're used to it, and you know it, and you know what to do. You know, if I was a center growing up, or in high school at least, and I would like rehearse face-offs all the time. Okay, if they're a left-handed face-off, I'm righty, and if we're on my backhand side, how am I going to win it? Who's my wingers? Are they going to come across? I kind of really got into it. And so, but I didn't know any of this. What I was doing was actually mental skills training, until I learned from our mental skills coach in 2010. And so it was really cool. And then obviously in 2014, like the years, obviously you keep improving, and your mind kind of opens up even more to expanding your potential and really honing in on certain weaknesses that you can get stronger. And so, yeah, it was kind of a cool realization, I guess, for me, looking back.
Well, Gigi, you've learned clearly so much from your hockey days and playing experience, and I feel like I've got a pump-up speech. I want to go hone in on my mental skills and mental strength, and feel like I need to hit the ice right now. But just wondering, now that you're on the media side of this hockey world, what do you miss the most about your playing days?
Oh, the players in the locker room and competing, like to be able to be out on the ice and be in the locker room and share these cool moments, be on the road trips, be able to laugh and even cry sometimes with your teammates, because it's so fun. Like you can't get that anywhere else. And you also can't get the joy of competition, like being challenged so much, like to your like wit's end essentially, and seeing the strength come out when you overcome, when you persevere, when you get through injuries, when you deal with a setback, and you like just the collective strength that comes amongst your teammates and moving toward a goal that is bigger than yourself. Like I think those two things, the doing it with your teammates and just the joy of being around them, and then having an avenue where you can like do literally experience everything that God's given you to the fullest extent, and see yourself and your teammates overcome these incredible challenges and obstacles. And then it's so fun, and it's so fun to skate and step on the ice and hear the crowd roar and cheer and like just be with you in it. And so I guess those couple things are definitely what I miss, and I think will always like treasure in my heart.
Well, Gigi, thank you so much for just taking the time to talk to us today. Those are all incredible, and I seriously mean it. I feel like I could run through a brick wall right now. You're so inspirational, and it was so fun and awesome to listen to you on the Beanpot. And welcome to Nesson. We're so excited to have you on Respect Her Game for the first time, but also Nesson as a whole. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
If you're enjoying the show, you can catch new episodes of Respect Her Game every Thursday. You can watch on YouTube or Twitch and listen on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcasts. Kasey, college football might be over, and I'm so sad about that, but it was so cool to watch the Buckeyes win. But we still have NFL football. We got the conference championships coming up. So I'd love to hear your predictions first for the NFC Championship. Who do you got?
Oh, my gosh. So, of course, I'm a little wounded because the Commanders took over and topped my Buccaneers, and now they're in the NFC Championship. Clearly, I'm still gassed by it. But what a better storyline than Jaden Daniels getting there and doing it in his rookie season, more importantly. But if I just have to go ahead and make a hard pitch to who's going to take this one, it's got to be the Eagles. I underestimated them in a number of turns. I just think that they're going to have more of the experience on their side. Yes, Eagles fans, I've heard you loudly when you've had your moments of cries for coaching decisions and playmaking decisions, but they've cleaned up a lot of things. And how do you go against Saquon Barkley? You don't. So just to think about the terror that he can be and just how much he deserves this season along with his teammates and the humility in his play, I like the Eagles to take the NFC Championship.
That's good. Well, I think you have so many great points with that, but I think there's something in me that just loves the storyline of the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels. And so I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to take Washington. And I know Philly's the favorite, but they've got, they got the great running backs and all the things, but Jalen Hurts is a little banged up, right? He hurt his knee, and so I'm thinking with that on the run game, and then combining it, going really up against Jaden Daniels, who has just had one of the best rookie performances in all of quarterbacks' rookie performances ever. I mean, this guy is really unstoppable. He's coming in clutch moments. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury are really trusting him on third down, and that's not something you typically see with rookie quarterbacks. I also love the combination of Jaden Daniels with veterans like Zach Ertz, who also comes in clutch, and former Eagle, right? He's going to have some vengeance on him, and Bobby Wagner. Like, I think that combination is really cool because you can just tell with how they interact. They have so much respect for their young rookie quarterback, but it is fun too to see like how they can also pour into him. So I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders for the NFC Championship.
I love that. I'm right there with you. I really, really am. I want to stick to that one as well. And I'm glad that you mentioned just kind of the trust there with the rookie quarterback, because some of the play calls are something that you would kind of toss to more of a veteran presence, and they've allowed Jaden Daniels to take it and run with it. To add against my point, but to your point, Jaden Daniels' release time is going to come in very fashionably handy in this matchup, and that's something where they'll have an edge over the Eagles. So it can be very interesting and very close. Look, I just want a good game at this point since my Bucks got knocked out.
Hey, just something entertaining. That's good. Okay, on to the AFC. Who do you have?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm just going to be honest here. I've rooted against the Chiefs at every single turn. I don't need another Chiefs Super Bowl. They've had their moment, but also, I mean, I really want this for Josh Allen. He cleaned up a lot of things this season. He was known to be the fumble king. He was known to be a little too rash and a little too hasty when it came to making decisions, but he's another guy that sits top 5 in the category of a quick release on the ball, but he also has a top 5 offensive line playing in front of him. So when it comes to the Chiefs and Spagnuolo, he's not going to be able to come blitz heavy all the time and use that to his advantage. He was able to fluster a young quarterback in CJ Stroud. He's not going to be able to do that with Josh Allen. So just to see how he pivots game plan wise, it's going to be a lot of focus on the defense, where the Bills don't have to hyper-focus on their offense or defense. They have such a balanced attack on both sides. So I'm here for the Josh Allen story. I'm here for him to break the rut. I'm here for him to put the Chiefs in their place, tell them to take the back seat for once heading to a Super Bowl, and see what the Bills can produce moving forward.
Well, I'm right there with you. I do think, too, I think the time is now. I think this is the time for the Buffalo Bills. They're running the ball so well with Cook, and also other running backs who they're also using a ton.
Sweet Baby Ray.
Yes, but it's not just him, right? It's also their quarterback, Josh Allen, who said before the season started, hey, I'm not going to run them. I'm not going to take it as much myself. We're going to let other people do that. But he has just gone full Superman mode, stormed right into the end zone, especially being so dangerous in the red zone and really unstoppable there. But he's also spreading it around. I think in the last game, 9 different guys caught the ball, which is just a testament to how their strategy, right? But then also the unselfishness of this team, which I think is really fun to see.
That's a great way to put that. And I love that you mentioned the targets too, because it makes game planning harder. When you look at a certain number of teams, the Chiefs, they want to feed it to Travis Kelce. And when they get into tight moments, that Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes connection is undeniable. But tight ends don't have much free will against this Bills defense either. So the Chiefs are going to have to get creative, but they're also going to have to be creative in how they attack and how they defend, because of the number of targets that the Bills can use and because of the fast thinking of Josh Allen and the team behind him when it comes to the coaching. So I love that point out.
Definitely. I also love with the Bills this keeping it light, fresh,
Everything's
confidence.
fun.
Everything's fun. And you saw Mac Hollins walk into the last game. He had like a Hawaiian shirt on. It was unbuttoned.
What do you think he wears
With,
for
like,
a championship game? Because the
no
outfits
shoes,
have gotten
that's
reckless.
what.
I mean, that's one
I don't know, but
consistent.
it's hard to top. I mean, he had sunscreen on his nose. Like,
Yeah.
just that like calm, cool, relaxed vibe. But it's also dangerous because
Yes.
when you can play free and loose, like that's really scary.
It really is. And it makes your opponent hard to like, how do you gauge people that walk in
Right.
like just completely fearless, like completely ready to go and just not giving you any intel into what they're feeling, if they're feeling rattled by any means. But I think it's just one of those things that now's the time. And it's for many players on the Bills, but it's also for that coaching staff. Like they have a brilliant staff. Now they want to show that they can execute it and fulfill it fully.
Something we talked about before the show was, what would be the cooler storyline for who to come out on top? And who do you think that would be?
Oh, I don't know why I'm being so like drawn towards Josh Allen, but as great as his story would be,
he got engaged this year.
I know, like
there's a lot of
it's
good
the 2
things.
rings thing.
Yeah.
You got the one ring's coming. You want to get the other one, but you said it earlier. The poetic and just amazing season that Jaden Daniels is having as a rookie. Nobody had him taking his team to the playoffs, let alone potentially a Super Bowl or championship game. So I think you can't beat that. On top of the fact that he's very demure. I hated that word, but he is very demure. And now
Clip it. That's so good. Yes, he is. That's exactly how I would describe him.
yeah, there's just everything that he does, his press conferences, his responses to things, whether it's adverse, whether it's intense, whether it's calm, he's just demure.
I love that. Well, then you'll like my answer to this next segment that we have. We're doing a new thing here on Respect Her Game. We're going to call What's Their Song? We picked a player from each team in the conference championships, and we picked like their anthem. What would they be all about? What are they representing right now? So we'll start it off with Philly. Saquon Barkley is our guy. Casey, what song do you have for Saquon?
Oh, this was so hard. I told you how back and forth I went on this one because originally, just because of the ferocity that he plays with, you want this like heavy hitting song. I mean, I guess just to put some personality of who I am to it, I went from Rage Against the Machine to Riot by Shabuzi, and then I landed on Feather by Sabrina Carpenter because how do you not look at Barkley and think he feels lighter now that he got rid of his ex? You know, he's just kind of thriving, and he's thriving. He feels so much lighter without the Giants and the previous organization on his back, and he's playing like that because he runs ferociously, but I mean, he's as light as a feather. He's so hard to stop.
That's good. Well, my song is very similar in that same sense. I have Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift.
That was a great one, actually.
I had to do that. And the same thing to the Giants. Like, look what you made Saquon do. He had you on his list in red underlined, that lyric. And not just the Giants, but every other team in the NFC. And that's what they've really done. That line, I'll be the actress staring in your bad dreams. Like, this is the New York Giants' worst dream. This is their nightmare. The guy that we let go, the guy that we really, he is now potentially taking his team to a Super Bowl. So I think it's got to be Look What You Made Me Do. He got harder, smarter, and he had that jump spin move. Like if that's not the epitome of that line in Look What You Made Me Do, where Taylor goes, I can't come to the phone right now. The old Taylor's dead.
Dead.
That's the drop the mic moment.
Yeah, this new Barkley is a force to be reckoned with, and that's honestly, I'll take your song.
I like both of them.
I'll throw it in the mix. Then we both talked about Jaden Daniels a lot. So this one felt super simple for me. I went with Walking on a Dream by Empire of the Sun, or as some people might know, Wiz Khalifa. But I couldn't shake this one. Always running for the thrill of it, but it's the closing line here. Never looking down. I'm just in awe of what's in front of me. Come on, that just screams.
It's cute.
Yeah.
It's very demure.
It is.
That's so good. Honestly, all of these choices have been so fun so far, but mine is very similar. I chose Happy by Pharrell Williams. And just to start with the song cover, he's so chill. He's in his robe. He's got his sunglasses on. Like, there's not a worry in the world. This just gives me too blessed to be stressed vibes. I love it. And like you said, he's so chill. In his post-game interview in the last game, he said, I'm good, I'm cool. And I just got joy inside of me. And so I think this song, Happy, really represent it. And in those lyrics, I'm too high to bring me down. Well, sometimes when you don't experience something, you don't know what lies ahead. You don't know the fear that you should have. So I think with Jaden Daniels, he doesn't know the anxiety and fear that comes with being a part of the NFL playoffs. So that's why I went with happy. And he just seems like a happy guy.
I love that. That's really a great way to just put on tunnel vision. That's what he has. And the highs and the lows. I love that one. I'm going to hold on to that as well. Okay, Travis Kelce. Of course, he's the talk of football for a number of reasons. And then to talk music, I don't think either of us paired him with Taylor Swift. No. So I'm proud of us because we knew that there was other songs that were just so much more clear. I went with Still Going Down by Morgan Wallen, and it was just this line for me. So if you think I'm full of it, ain't done it, check the resume. That just feels like a Travis Kelce moment.
That is good. You know what? I was wondering about this because I don't have that song memorized. So when I saw that you were going to say that, I was like, I don't know. But that line is like, drop the mic.
Yeah, and then on top of it, Still Going Down. It's hard to get Kansas out of anything. They're constantly still showing up. They haven't had the most, I almost said the sexiest games, but they haven't had the greatest games this season. They show up at the end of any of the fourth quarters. They've pulled off ugly wins, but it's still going down in Kansas City.
I like that. Well, mine in the same sentiment is that fighting mentality. They're going to fight for it. And not just because he's quoted it, but fight for your right is what I have Travis really putting on as his anthem. He's going to fight for his right to party. But, he's not worried about how that happens, right? Yes. I think a lot of people coming to this season were like, oh, Travis Kelce's not who he was last year, and he's not getting as many, catches as he should, and he's just not the same guy. But, truthfully, he's comes in and clutch in those moments, and he knows what it takes to win. He will do the unselfish and unseen plays. He'll block. He'll set picks. He'll do things that maybe not everyone is seeing because he knows at the end of the day, I'm just going to fight for the right to party. And it doesn't matter how I'm going to get there. And it's kind of a chaotic song, a little rock in there. So I feel like that
I love it.
Gives his personality.
A little bit to the grunge that we know he has. I see him in the front of the bus. All right. And then closing out for our music picks for these guys. When it comes to Josh Allen, Can't Stop by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Oh my gosh. Can't Stop, Addicted to the Shindig. Totally is. Chop Top, he says, I'm going to win big. Josh Allen's ready to win big. Choice, Choose Not to Live of Imitation, and then Distant Cousin to Reservation. You just can't knock this guy down. So Can't Stop, Josh Allen. I hope you can't stop and make it all the way to the top.
I love that. Now I got that song literally stuck in my head. I'm very similar. I have Don't Stop Me Now by Queen. And kind of the same thing. This is Superman of the NFL this year. That line, 200 degrees. That's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm like, Mr. Fahrenheit, this guy is on fire. And not only, but we said it earlier, he's also gotten engaged this year. So he's really just on fire. And there's also the line in this song, it says defying the laws of gravity. Well, Josh Allen has defied the laws of QB, okay? in the game against the 49ers this season, he had a passing, a rushing, and a receiving touchdown. This guy is doing things that no other quarterback is doing right now. He's probably going to win MVP. I think it would be really exciting and fun. So I have Don't Stop Me Now.
I love it. I don't think you can top that one either. That's perfectly set up. And then you mentioned the most important thing, everything that he can do in the red zone. All you have to do is put a cape on Josh Allen and it's a wrap.
That's good. Well, do you have a favorite out of these songs? Do you have a favorite one that you're like, I love that song?
Oh, yeah. I love Red Hot Chili Peppers. I have two older sisters, so them being born in the 80s is like everything that they have encompassed in my brain. So I'm going to stick with Josh Allen in this one.
That's good. I kind of want to take your pick. I kind of want to go with that one because now I got it in my head and it's kind of fun. But I think what would be really cool is maybe the NFL can listen to this Respect Your Game when you see them do their walkout intros, toss this song on there. I think it'd be really great. Well, no, I love that, and I love the dramaticness of these NFL playoff games and the theatrics that come with it. I think it's really exciting.
Oh, big time. And I think that we're going to be in for a number of theatrics this weekend. Whether the players are demure or not, the fireworks are going to be there.
They will. Well, Kasey, this was so fun to just introduce you to the Nesson audience and get to know you today and go through these songs. I hope we can do more fun segments like this coming up. And that is it for Respect Her Game. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode.